How's it going, Giants fans? Back with you boys, Alex and Anthony, discussing a couple of injury updates for this Giants team after the bye week, looking ahead to the Houston Texans. Giants should be getting some reinforcements at a couple different positions. Obviously, they could use the support now that Xavier McKinney's done. Brian Dable did not seem very optimistic he could return this year. They put him on injured reserve, so he's out for the next 4 games as a minimum. And then when they asked him about Dable specifically about if McKinney was going to be able to return this season, he said, we'll see. So obviously it's not exactly what you want to hear. He could make this return after 4 weeks. It's a broken hand. So, we saw JPP blow half his hand off and return in like 2 weeks. So you never know what's going to happen. They could put a club on him and see what happens there. But, this is definitely a tough situation for the Giants trying to supplement that. Julian Love, as we predicted, is going to wear the green dot. He's going to be the play caller, which is definitely a great sign. But Anthony, how you doing today, my friend? And, what are your thoughts on, McKinney maybe being out for the rest of the season?
Yeah, that would be a really tough break to the New York Giants defense. I'm hoping that that's not the case. And I do have a little bit of optimism here. I think that more of what Brian Dable's trying to say with "we'll see" is he's upset with Xavier McKinney because there is literally a clause in Xavier McKinney's contract barring him from going ATVing. And he went ATVing over the bye week, and that's how he injured his hand. I do feel like the Giants are probably going to take some sort of internal discipline, whether that be suspending him for a game or two when he's eligible to return, whether that be fining him. They're going to do something, I would assume, here. So looking ahead towards, when he might come back, I'm very hopeful that it's just the 4 weeks on the injured reserve. However, there's another player that we're going to discuss today. We thought it was just going to be 4 weeks on the injured reserve, ended up being 8 weeks. So you really never know with these things. Sometimes injuries are way worse than they appear. And I guess we just need to take it week by week and hope that we get Xavier McKinney back on the field by the end of the season because he truly is a difference maker. And he is someone that we want in the lineup during the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. But, speaking of the offensive line support the Giants are expected to get moving forward here, Shane Lemieux, was supposed to be on IR for a couple of weeks. Like you said, ended up being on it for 8 weeks with that nasty toe injury. I don't know what happened, if this toe was turned the other direction or whatever. But it definitely seems like it's getting a little bit healthier. Hopefully he doesn't re-aggravate it. And now they have 21 days, right? 21 days, similar to Nick Gates, to determine if he's going to be on the active roster or if they're going to shut him down for the rest of the 2022 season. So Shane Lemieux, obviously a player that some people were high on. Anthony and I have never really seen the value in Shane Lemieux. I mean, he played 17 overall snaps in 2021 before partially tearing his patellar tendon. That's way too small of a sample size to determine if he's actually going to be a good player. Barely played this offseason, didn't really do much. The toe injury really limited what he was trying to do. And then his rookie campaign is really the only legitimate sample size we can look to. And he had I think he was ranked worst in the entire league in pass protection, gave up 5 sacks, 25 pressures, played left guard, primarily 484 total snaps, was okay at best as a run blocker. So, right now, what is Shane Lemieux? To me, he's just depth. I don't think he's going to be anything special for us. I don't think he's going to take over left guard and be this unbelievable player. In fact, I think Ben Bredesen's better than him, but it's reinforcements nonetheless, because right now you have rookie Josh Ezeudu, playing that left guard spot. I know he's a decent run blocker. He has a long way to go as a pass protector. He's a 4th-round pick for a reason. Really good feet, though. Really good power in general. He just has to put it all together. I think his pass sets sometimes, his feet and hands just aren't connected. They're not really moving simultaneously, and he gets caught off balance sometimes. Doesn't really understand the leverage game at the NFL level just yet, but he's getting there. This experience is going to hopefully fuel his development and growth moving forward. But, what are your thoughts on Shane Lemieux? I know you're not the biggest fan of him, just simply because we just don't have enough sample size to actually justify he's actually a decent player. Personally, I like Ben Bredesen more as a starter. Once he can come back, he's on IR right now as well. So he has 2 weeks left there, and then he'll be off IR off, with that knee injury. But, what are your thoughts on Shane Lemieux coming back here? And do you think that maybe he could steal some reps away from Josh Ezeudu moving forward?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a chance he could steal some reps and maybe even return to the starting lineup at some point this season. You do have to keep in mind that he was the projected starter during training camp, and he was reportedly playing pretty well during training camp. He even took snaps at center, left guard, right guard. He kind of moved around a bit, and the coaching staff was pleased with him until he was injured, which is super unfortunate. It derails what was hopefully going to be his breakout season. We've never seen him reach his potential, in my opinion. No, I have never been the biggest fan of Shane Lemieux, but it's mainly because I never felt like he was ready to see the field. That rookie season where he got significant playing time, I didn't think that he was an NFL-ready player at that time. I thought that there was a lot on his tape from college that needed to be cleaned up before he saw extended playing time in the NFL. But unfortunately, the Giants were put in a position where they they were forced to put him on the field. They had to put him on the field due to the lack of depth and the lack of talent that they had on the offensive line at the time. So he went out there. He got beat up pretty badly. It was definitely a shaky and not so good rookie season, to put it kindly. But going forward, I was hopeful that the following year, when he was the starter for the first week or two of the season, or the first 17 snaps of the season, I was very hopeful that that could be his breakout. Injury derailed that. So, he comes back this summer, looks pretty good in training camp. Maybe this will be the breakout. And again, injuries derail what could have been a breakout season for Shane Lemieux. So very unfortunate. I'm rooting for the guy no matter what. Even if I wasn't a fan of his rookie season, because I didn't think he deserved to be on the field, I'm still rooting for him because, again, first of all, he's a New York Giants player. So I root for all of them. But secondly, I'm rooting for him a little bit extra because I like the comeback stories. I like the players that have the potential to be something special, and then career derailed by injuries. I like to see them come back and really prove everybody wrong, prove all the doubters wrong, and prove that they are worthy of being on the field and that they're healthy to be on the field. So Shane Lemieux coming back to the team, at the very least, we're getting solid depth with experience, because Shane Lemieux does have extensive starting and playing time experience in the NFL at this point. So I'm excited to see him get back to the field, whether it just be in practice and be as a backup on the offensive line. But at the same token, if he does end up making his way into the starting lineup, I am more confident in Shane Lemieux right now than I ever have been in the past, because again, he looked great over the summer according to all sources, and he has had a couple of years under his belt to clean some things up. That was always what I said. I said that he just needed some time to learn how to play the NFL game, and I think he's had that time. He's had that experience. Actually, I remember reading some of his interviews in this offseason around the training camp time period, where he was talking about how he completely changed his technique and fundamentals because the coaching staff previously was teaching him one thing. New coaching staff came in, taught him something new, and it helped him a lot over the summer. So he was really ready for that breakout season and primed for it. So again, if he does enter his way back in the starting lineup, I'm excited to see what he brings to the table, and I'm hopeful that we'll get the best version of Shane Lemieux that we've seen to date.
Well, I certainly hope we get the best version of Shane Lemieux we see today, because the other version of him isn't very good. But I'll tell you what, anyone on this Giants team that's healthy, I hope they contribute and they hope they can elevate their game. Of course, Lemieux, the version of Lemieux we saw was 2 years ago. He's been coached up. He hasn't really gotten an opportunity to showcase his new talents, but the toe injury definitely hurts. Partially torn patellar tendon definitely hurts. Hopefully he's over these things now, and we can look ahead to the future and he can make a solid, positive impact on this team. But I'll tell you what, there's a couple more injury things I want to discuss. Kenny Gallade is expected to return from injury against Houston. That's a pretty big deal. But again, we're all kind of sitting here like, Kenny Gallade is going to return, but like, how do you even think they're going to use him? You know what I mean? Like, he was basically being phased out of the offense to begin with. Now you don't have much of a choice, though. We didn't go after any receivers at the trade deadline. Sterling Shepard's now done for the year. You don't have Bellinger there really for a couple more weeks, most likely. So do you think now we're starting to lean on Kenny Gallade a little bit more? Do you think we're going to have to adjust and kind of attack his strengths? Because it seems like the Giants, have kind of been playing an offense that isn't entirely what they want it to be. But you might as well utilize the guy making $16 million as your wide receiver one. You may as well throw him the ball, get him involved, and maybe he opens up the field for Darius Slay, and maybe the attention that he gets opens up the field for Saquon and Wan'Dale Robinson. This is definitely a situation where they need to give Kenny Gallade the ball. They need to find ways to get the ball in his hands, whether that be on 50-50s or just scheming him open. Do you think that we're going to see an uptick in his production after the bye? Or do you think we're going to see a similar kind of situational usage where he's phased out, maybe 20 to 40% usage?
No, if I had to predict, I think they're going to give him significant playing time. I think Kenny Gallade is going to fully return to the lineup, and there is one reason why. It's because the Giants have been forced to start the likes of Marcus Johnson over the last few weeks, and just to put it plainly, that guy's not cut out to be a full-time starting NFL receiver. Kenny Gallade at least has that experience of being a full-time starting NFL receiver, and in the past, he's been a Pro Bowl level starting receiver and a very high-quality receiver in the past. Whether it be injuries have just caught up with him at this point, or it be a lack of motivation now that he's gotten his paychecks, whatever the case might be, the Kenny Gallade of old is no longer present. And we just have to make do with the new Kenny Gallade that we have now, the new and far less good Kenny Gallade that the Giants are stuck with. And I will say I have to give a lot of respect to the Giants coaching staff for kind of, having the cojones to really bench this guy and just say, listen, you got this contract, but you didn't get it from us. So we're not going to play you until you prove that you're good enough to be on the field. I have to respect that from Brian Daboll and his staff. And I have to assume that probably earned the respect of a lot of those guys on the back end of the roster from the coaching staff. So, when you take a look at Darius Slayton, as you just mentioned, maybe having more space to operate, that's definitely something to keep in mind. I think that opposing defenses are still going to respect what Kenny Gallade has to offer, what he brings to the football field. He is a very big, menacing figure on the boundary. He is a red zone threat due to his size and strength, and he does create opportunities in the passing game that way, even though that's not exactly the style of football that the Giants like to play. However, him re-entering the lineup, if he is fully healthy and he's ready to go, I would like to see Kenny Gallade get more involved in the game plan. I'm hopeful that the Giants will involve him in the game plan because I'm still banking on the potential that's there. I'm just holding out hope that eventually he can return at least somewhat to form and just be somewhat like the version of Kenny Gallade that led the NFL in receiving touchdowns in 2019. So hopefully he gets back on the field. The Giants can go out there, give him some reps, design some plays for him, and just see what's left in the tank for Kenny Gallade. Again, fully healthy, making this return. Maybe this is what the Giants offense needs, and I don't want to float that out there too confidently because, again, I have zero confidence in Kenny Gallade at this point. He's just been a massive disappointment during his tenure here with the New York Giants. But again, the Giants just need some reinforcements at this position. Marcus Johnson not cutting it. The rest of those guys, a lot of dropped passes. Hopefully Kenny Gallade can go out there and at least catch the ball effectively and not suffer too many drops. So again, holding out hope for Gallade. Trying not to get my hopes up too high, but I do think this is a low-key addition to the lineup that can make a decent enough impact to help the Giants win some games.
Yeah. I mean, we need him to step up. He's one of those players that is being paid that much for a reason. He's got to elevate his game, man. That's the only way around it. We can't rely on David Sills. Darius Slayton can be our only threat. We need Gallade to step up and make an impact here. At the very least, because I imagine the Giants are going to cut him, save the $6.7 million next offseason, and go into the future without him on the team. But for now, he's got to put himself out there. He's got to really put 100% effort, because if he doesn't, other teams are watching him. You know what I mean? He's going to have to keep playing after the Giants release him at some point, and the next contract he gets is going to be determined by the effort he puts on the field this season. So he's got an opportunity to elevate his stock, and the Giants need to capitalize on that if he's willing to put in that effort. And I think he is. So he's been pretty quiet. I respect him for that. For the record, he has never really spoken out about the Giants. He's never gone out and said anything about the fans. He stays quiet. If I was making $16 million, I'd stay quiet too. But at the very least, he's not Kadarius Toney and us right now. And he's not talking shit about the fans and, saying stuff and whatever. So I respect that from him, and, just kind of taking the hits one by one, and hopefully he rises to the occasion. Otherwise, it's already been a waste of money. So, that's definitely a conversation that we can conclude immediately. But nonetheless, I think that's pretty much most of the injury news. I know Daniel Bellinger's making good progress. The eye swelling is reduced, so he's looking a lot better. I think Daniel Bellinger should probably come back in a couple weeks here. We obviously miss him, right?
Yeah, absolutely missing Daniel Bellinger, but also some negative injury news. It sounds like Aaron Robinson is doubtful to return at any point this season. So the Giants thin in the secondary, even thinner now with Xavier McKinney's injury. I know it's a safety position, so it's a little bit different, but still not a lot of depth in that secondary. Was hopeful that Aaron Robinson would be able to return at some point. Really liked what he was providing to the defenses on the first couple of weeks of the season. Thought he was playing well above expectations, but Brian Daboll today saying that it is doubtful he will be able to return to the lineup at any point this season. Very disappointing news. Hopefully he's able to return next year and make an impact, because again, I really like the way he was playing, and I'm going to miss seeing him on Sundays this season.
Well, the Fabian Moreau show continues. Definitely not ideal, but he's actually played pretty well, so I'm not totally upset about Fabian Moreau, and maybe they keep him around next year as a reserve piece, and Aaron Robinson comes back, or they have Cordell Flott, hopefully able to return at some point as well. Nick Williams, I know he's also done for the year. So Giants losing pieces, man. They're losing a lot. Hopefully Ben Bredeson can return after the IR spell. Shane Lemieux hopefully can make an impact, but losing McKinney maybe for the rest of the season is just huge. That's a devastating blow. I trust Julian Love, but you can't replace McKinney. There's no replacing him. So definitely a tough situation for the Giants, but nonetheless, guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below. Thoughts on Kenny Gallade, thoughts on Shane Lemieux. Thoughts on some of these injuries? Definitely a tough situation, but we're optimistic, and we always think this Giants team, especially with this coaching staff, we can pull out a win no matter what, no matter the opponent. So I'm excited to see the rest of this year with you guys. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.
TVSO.